Good afternoon or good morning, fellow ruminators. Welcome back to another session, Rumination with Andrew. Now, Dr. Andrew Michael Holness has emerged as, the Prime Minister of Jamaica in the recently held election that was held last night. Prime Minister Dr. Andrew Michael Holness emerged as the leader and the winner of that election. I had already predicted that he was going to emerge the winner. And we know that based on what was happening and the rebirth of the PNP, particularly at the launch of its manifesto, we know that Dr. Andrew Holness could not win by a landslide, that, the PNP had come back, had really been rebaptized, had energized itself, had mobilized its base or its bases, and had cemented itself as a real opposition. Before that, Mark Golding was just warming up. But after the launch of the manifesto, we were very, very sure on this channel, on our show, that the PNP would have actually given him a run for his money, and they did. So let's congratulate Mark Golding for the show that he actually put up against Dr. Andrew Michael Holness. He might not have won, but he won a number of seats that people are surprised about. I, for one, am surprised that Dr. Dayton Campbell won that seat, even though we know that Westmoreland belongs to the PNP. But there were many people who were suggesting that the PNP had neglected them for so long. And the fact that Dr. Dayton Campbell lost his seat in St. Anne and they dumped him on Westmoreland. But these things are done in politics, so I can't blame the PNP for doing that. Dr. Dayton Campbell is certainly not an anomaly as far as politics is concerned. We know that, if they don't win in one constituency, they are sometimes shuffled to another constituency where they sometimes gain the lead in that constituency. So kudos to Dr. Dayton Campbell of the PNP, who is also the General Secretary. It would have been really sad if he had lost that seat, given the fact that he is the General Secretary of the People's National Party. Now, there is another surprise in Portland East, right? Eastern Portland. I had declared last year that Action Ann would have won it. I did not do a video on her before the election was cast, before the election was held, but I understand that she lost the election. She lost that election. That is an Action Ann. Now, what message is that sending across the political landscape? The fact that Action Anne-Marie Vaz of Eastern Portland, whatever you call it, has lost her seat. The fact that she was always on the go, she was always doing something for the community, it showed that I really wonder if sometimes one is rewarded for hard work, for the hard work that they put in. And we can say that she put in a lot of hard work. She did not get everything that was supposed to have gotten done, I'm sure, because, Jamaica is a tall order, and I'm sure she might not have had all the economic resources that she needed. But she is one of the hardest working politicians. And I can imagine that she perhaps did not sleep last night in light of the fact that she lost to a political neophyte, the likes of Ian Buchanan, not Ian, but Isaac Buchanan, right? She lost to the likes of Isaac Buchanan. Now, talk about Isaac Buchanan. I know that Vibes Cartel was on TikTok endorsing him for the candidacy, for his candidacy. So that would have had some amount of impact on his win there in Eastern Portland. Another thing is that I saw what appeared to have been this deliverance pastor. In my language, I call it an obiopass. Well, somebody who probably practices some form of spiritualism, delivering and having a deliverance gospel meeting and delivering Isaac Buchanan from the demons. And it seems to me that Isaac Buchanan, could that blessing, work in favor of Isaac Buchanan? I don't know. Okay, I don't know. But I saw Isaac Buchanan, I think was the day before the election was held, and he was uncomfortable with the guy almost anointing him as the future leader of Eastern Portland. Now, there are other surprises. I don't have the list here, of which I am not able to read today. But let's open up with the Gleaner. The Gleaner carried in its paper this morning that Dr. Andrew Holness has secured a third term in office, and that is for sure. All right, so Dr. JLP secures third straight term in close poll. The Jamaican Labour Party has emerged victorious in the closely contested 2025 general election, securing a mandate to form the next government for a third consecutive term in office. So that is actually making Dr. Andrew Holness and the JLP party having a third consecutive term in office historic. Now, this has happened before in the PNP, so let's be clear on that, that under the leadership of Mr. P.J. Patterson, who was Prime Minister of Jamaica from 1992 to 2006, he won 3 consecutive terms in office. Okay, he won 3 consecutive terms in office. Now, let us be clear on this, though. While Dr. Andrew Holness's victory is unprecedented and historic, but it's something that he cannot be that proud of in the sense that one, he didn't win by a huge margin. He won, and winning is the most important thing. He didn't win by a huge margin. I understand there's 34 seats that the JLP copped of the 63 seats in the Jamaican Parliament that he won. Another thing is that there was a very low voter turnout, not as low as we had during the pandemic, but not as merely high. I think during the last government election, general elections that were held during the pandemic of 2020, that Dr. Holness, the voter turnout, not Dr. Holness, but the voter turnout was 38 point something. This time around, it was 39.4, I understand, or 39.8. That is not a high voter turnout, given the nature and given the importance, I should say, of this year's election and the fact that, many people were suggesting that time come. The PNP, their slogan was time come, and all of the hype that we saw during the election. And that probably I should have really pulled up an article that was carried by the Gleaner today by a writer. I didn't pull it up, but I'm going to see if I can pull it up now, who was suggesting that writer to the editor of the Gleaner was suggesting that Jamaica's election is all a hype, right? And that is to a large extent. And we can say both parties, they put on a hype, a show that really was hyped to the core. But at the end of the day, somebody has to emerge the winner, and Dr. Andrew Holness did emerge the winner. Yeah, so we have elections seem to be more hype than substance. The writer is here intimating every election, wherever they occur in the world, there is the automatic tide of euphoria and sweeps across the countries. This is coupled with jubilant and crazy hope that seems to have no more explanation than the sudden joy of a man who is lifted to new highs from a shot of overproof Jamaica white rum. Elections, in my opinion, are nothing more than a carnival of chaotic emotions where each political party tries to outdo the other, the way two heavyweight sound systems try to overthrow the opponent with the most damning and sensational dub plates. It is all action and fireworks that signifies nothing. If candidates in election campaigns have anything substantive to offer to the people, that would make the blowing of the trumpet redundant. Election campaigns are nothing more than marketing inventions to appeal to the dry and arid spirit where reasons seem to have dried up. Anyone who takes election campaigns seriously is naive. And I think she's right. He or she, let me see the name of the person who wrote this article. Not seeing the name, it was coming up. Oh, Homer Sylvester. So it could be a man, okay, that is a very he was well said, all right? Well written, well said. Yes, if you're taking elections seriously, I think that you are naive because it's all about the hype. As the writer suggested, many of our electorates, many of our politicians rather, have nothing to say. They have no substance in terms of their policies because they're all running on the same platform of the neoliberal system and of the IMF endorsed the IMF sanctioned system. So they really have nothing distinctive to say. So what they have to do, they have to hype the message and let you dance and sing, I am blessed every day of my life. I am blessed. And you dance and you sing. But at this point in time, Andrew Holness, as I watched him, when, that singer was singing, I'm blessed, every day of my life, I am blessed, all of that. I saw Andrew Holness on the campaign trail before the election, and I thought, wow, that was a fitting song. And yes, he has emerged as the one who is blessed. Let us also not downplay the fact that this man has been blessed, The fact is that he came up as a young budding politician. For some reason, Golding, that's Bruce Golding, was voted out of office because of the way he handled the Dulles extradition request. And Andrew Holness seamlessly got that position, that he was chosen, he was actually selected, he was actually, anointed to become the next prime minister after Golding left office. Now, after the JLP lost the election to the PNP in 2011, what happened afterwards? Andrew Holt, there was a fight, an internal fight amongst the Christopher Toftons, and also the Orly Shaws of that party. And Andrew Holness emerged. He emerged as the winner, right, among those people who were challenging him. And at one point, he was very young at that time. Let's not forget that Dr. Andrew Holness at the time was a very young man, and he won these experienced politicians. Some of them perhaps could have been his father. I don't know. Maybe I'm, playing. I don't think they could have been his father, because Christopher Tufton and he are in the same age group. Possibly Audley Shaw. I don't know. But the fact of the matter, yeah, Audley Shaw probably could have been his father. But the fact of the matter is that Andrew Holness emerged as the winner of that internal election when they were actually challenging his leadership. And he went on to becoming, to earning his stint as the Prime Minister of Jamaica in 2016. So even though he was Prime Minister in a short time, in 2010, it wasn't that it was an earned position, it was an anointed position, right? But he earned his position, he cemented his victory in 2016 and in 2020 when he won by a landslide. Now that election must have been an anomaly because say what we want to say, Jamaica is still a PNP country. And the fact that he won by a landslide in 2020. Now, when we look at what happened yesterday, he did not win by a landslide. He won comfortably, but not by a landslide. Okay, so I think he has copped 34 of the seats the last time I read, the number of seats that he won. So Holness is saying that it's not a victory by default, says Holness so he's suggesting that this is not a victory by default. Let me see what he's saying here when he says what he means by this is not a victory by default. I think I'd put up the article here. But let us look up before I read that. The EOJ reports that 39.5% voter turnout in general election, and that is not good. The Electoral Office of Jamaica, EOJ, has confirmed a 39.5% voter turnout in the 2025 general election. This figure sharply contrasts with the 78.4% turnout recorded in 1980, the highest on record. The lowest turnout was in 2020 when it was 37.9%. So they are contextualizing that. So the election turnout was not particularly impressive. And the political commentators and the historians will need to assess what is happening and why Jamaicans are not turning out to vote. Now, the JLP is suggesting that the victory, that's Andrew Holness, is not a victory by default. Prime Minister Andrew Holness, or Prime Minister designate Dr. Andrew Holness, on Wednesday night praised the supporters of the Jamaican Labour Party for the historic third straight victory which it carved out over the People's National Party, telling Labourites that it was not a victory by default, but a hard-fought one. The JLP secured 34 of the 63 seats in the House of Representatives. Speaking before Jubilant Party supporters at the Belmont Road Wednesday night, Holness said it was a fight to the winners' enclosure. This was not a victory by default. Make no mistake about it. This was not an easy victory. This was a fight which took discipline and focus, and we ran a decent campaign. And at one point in time, Clive Hansen and Dr. Clive Hansen and myself were online, and we were thinking that Holness was going to lose his seat. That was the sort of drama of the night when I had a live reporting on the election watch. Dr. Clive Hansen joined me on that live, and he was telling me, I wasn't looking at the screen at that time, but he was letting me know that, the preliminary votes, that it was in favor of Buchanan, the PNP's Buchanan. And that was interesting. That would have been interesting, would have been disturbing to say the least, if Dr. Andrew Holness had lost his seat with the party winning the election. But, because if he had lost his seat, the JLP would have won by 33 seats, right? And the Prime Minister would have lost his seat. And I was theorizing, or we both theorized, that it could be that the JLP under Dr. Andrew Holness, because he was really traveling the country. I don't know if Andrew Holness did not travel all the major constituencies supporting his members of parliament. That was a mammoth undertaking. And I was wondering if he had done that to the neglect of his own constituency, which would have resulted in his defeat. But thanks be to God that he wounded up winning that seat eventually, when all the ballots were counted. But the preliminary countings, it was going in favor of the PNP's Buchanan, right? I think it's Paul Buchanan, but Buchanan, he was Dr. Holness's opposition. So I think that this is a lesson that Dr. Holness needs to learn, and all of us need to learn, that sometimes, yes, while you're putting others before you and you're trying to help them, you need to make sure that you're strong, because he should have won that seat comfortably, with the hype and the hard work that he has put into running Jamaica and governing Jamaica, that he should have won that seat comfortably and handsomely. There should not even be a question over whether or not he was going to win his seat. His wife also won her seat, so it has cemented the Holnesses, what should I say? I don't want to use the word popularity, but cemented their leadership, right? It should have cemented their leadership on the Jamaican political landscape. I think so, that, it's showing us that both husband and wife, given the fact that there were lots of allegation charges over their heads, the fact is that they have emerged. They emerged. Both of them won their seats, and the GLP won the elections of 2025. So we are over that hill. I've not heard of any constitutionality of any of the seats so far. So we know that, for the most part, the trend is there. The pattern has been laid, that Dr. Andrew Michael Holness has secured for the Jamaican Labour Party a third consecutive term in office, something that is unprecedented. Thank you for those of you who joined me last night on live with Dr. Clive Hansen. We thank you for joining us, and those who commented. It was my first time on a live show. Hope that I'll be able to give you more live shows, more live programs, so that we can do more in-depth, incisive commentaries. Thank you so much, and congratulations and kudos to the Jamaica Labour Party for whatever it was, for a work that was hard won, right? And make no bones about it, whether you like him or not, he worked hard, right? So he deserves the fruit of his labor. And thank you so much for joining, and congratulations to all who won on both sides of the political aisle. On the PNP, I said Buchanan. I was not my favorite candidate, but congratulations to him and all of the people who won the election. They put up a fight, they worked hard, it was not an easy stretch, and they were able to, to cross the hurdles, the barriers that were in their way. We can learn a lot from politicians. It's not an easy job, not an easy job to govern Jamaica. Jamaica is a very challenging country with lots of intractable problems, and they have, what should I say now, sacrificed their time, their efforts, right, and their personal lives to run for these challenging offices. So long. Hope that you'll have a great day, and see you in another video. Ciao. Like, share, and subscribe.